Alright guys, we obviously got the bench up and running and getting all the customers' equipment in down here, but now it's time for me to put some of my stuff back together. Been playing with everybody else's, so I happen to, in the midst of all this, we got a radio in for its first year checkup. Just want to show you guys this radio. This is a Galaxy DX2547. Now, right out of the box, this thing is 40 channels, sad modulation. But here's the thing, it's a 959 board, guys, is what I keep telling everybody. The goodies around here, you just gotta know how to tap them, and sometimes you gotta put a few things in. Well, we kind of got nutso with this one. This radio's got an actual pretty weird history. It started off as a regular radio, obviously, and then a friend of mine bought it, and it had some channels in it, so we got to playing with some channels, and we just never stopped. So we've got one bank of uppers, another bank of lowers, another bank of uppers here somewhere. See how they both go. There it is, 2792. So this thing goes from well below 1 and well high above 40. So we got the radio all straightened out. We put a Galaxy Echo board in it, and we converted these controls to the dual control for the Echo board. And the Echo board's mounted inside it. And it is mounted. It's not wrapped in electrical tape and laying in the freaking radio. And you'll notice that these don't stick out past the console. They're all mounted in there nice and neat, just like the way it's done from the factory. We left the talkback intact. And then we put a stinger board in the bottom. If you go back through some of the pictures or some of the videos on YouTube, you'll see it. This has got a stinger board in the bottom. And then we ripped out the power supply, and we actually redid the entire back panel and to accommodate this power supply. So now this radio has on board 30 amp switching power supply, 50 watt stinger board mounted to the bottom cover inside. I think we got the plate on the bottom on this one. No, we don't. It's inside. Anyway, the stinger board's in the bottom, and these are our boards right here. These are what we use. This cap gets changed, and we have to rewind this transformer, and there's one other part that gets changed, and we keep to myself. And then these work a lot freaking better, and there's you know, for what they cost, you guys can take them out of the box, and you know they'll do okay, but you're not going to get the full goodie out of this board unless you know how to manipulate this board. Okay, so that's what we do. We go ahead and do what we need to do, and then that board was put in this radio. Well, one like that was put in this radio. So now you notice the radio is still pretty much, it's just the radio. There's no extra cables going in and out, this and that, extra power supplies. We have a 30 amp, oh nice, I just dropped my headset. We got a 30 amp power supply. We got a 30 amp power supply in the back, 50 to 80 watts of swing realistically on any watt meter, and they do better on most. So this one, the way we set them up was, go to the 100 watt scale because I'm not using my big boy. This one with, get my channels right. This one with the RF power turned all the way down and the stinger board turned off. Stinger board off, RF power all the way down. Let's kill the modulation too so we get an accurate dead key. Radio has like less than a watt. It swings well over 10 by itself. Swings about 25, 30. Okay. Now we turn the RF power all the way up. Just the radio. Stinger board is still off. Okay. Takes it up to about a half a watt. It's still doing 30. Now, we're still on the 100 watt scale. We're going to turn the stinger board from channel 9, which is off, to normal, which is on. And then all the way down, he gets a 6 watt dead key. And that's 100 watts, boys and girls. That's 100 watts, no matter how you look at it. See if we can get a over. That's 1,000 scale, which means 1,000 scale means right there is 100 watts. Oh no, we're on the 5,000 scale. Okay. Where are we? We're on the 1,000 scale, so I screwed up. Let's do that again. Right here is the 100 watt scale. 1,000. 100. I'm using 3 different meters here. I get confused. So it shows you about a 6 watt. Dead on 100. So a nice 100 watt swing turned all the way down. And then turned all the way up. He'll get a 25 watt dead key. Swing about 110. The cool thing is this is all inside this radio. There's nothing extra hanging out of it. The radio never gets hot. The radio rarely drifts off frequency. So, you know, he's got all the channels, echo board, a nice little driver for a bigger amp, standby switch for his driver, a power supply that if he wants to get goofy and throw a 250 or something on it on the side, he's got the lugs to do it. Close that down. He can go do whatever he wants. This was the very first one that we rigged up like this. And then when it was done, we called it the first. All the Galaxy radios are called Turbo DXs. And then the next one we did, and this is mine, and you guys have seen videos on this one before. I'm going to show you. This is the first 2000 Super Duty. Okay. This radio has seconds that count on the clock. We do that on all of them. Our Super Duty badge. My channels are on these switches, 2681 to 28045. And the cool thing about this radio is what we did was, instead of opening the clarifier, and when I finished upgrading it here, I'm going to show you some stuff. When we didn't open the clarifier. This radio, Cobra 2000, comes with a normal one. Here, let's go look at a normal one. We got several of them here because they're all coming in for conversions. Normal clarifier on a Cobra 2000 is fine and coarse and the receive only. Okay, so when you turn these, if these are the way I line these up, because you guys always notice, guys line them up, they try to line them up at 12 o'clock, and this little stupid thing's got a niche in it that holds it. Well, guys line them up in the niche, and then the radio drifts back and forth, and it'll drive you freaking wonky trying to keep it on 5.0, especially if you're on sideband. So when I leave these controls in here for a basic tune-up, I always put the coarse to like 1 o'clock and the fine on 12. And then we do the alignment. So this way you're not fighting with that niche that's up in the center all the time. And I've seen guys take this control apart. I've done it. And pull that little ball out and take the niche out. But you risk damaging controls, and you can't just go down to the Cobra 2000 store and buy stuff anymore. So what we did on this one, because it's mine, this radio came out of the parts pile. You know, this radio was parts, and it took us 6 months of part by piece in our spare time going through it and putting it all back to normal. And then we started converting it. So what we did on the clarifiers for this one is, the fine and coarse you saw on the other radio is now fine on the front and coarse right here. And then what we did was the transmit alignment control for AM and side, or for AM, for receive and transmit. To bring the transmitter in line, you usually adjust this little guy. Well, we just moved this little guy to the front on a 10-turn clarifier. So now it gets pretty goofy. You gotta know how to run a radio. If you've never, you're just getting in the sideband, this is not the radio for you. And actually, I've only had 2 people ask for this conversion, because you really got to be a sideband guy to use it, which I am. So what I can do with this radio, if I'm sitting here, say 16, on channel 16, when I turn this clarifier on this radio, okay, and then I transmit, you notice it stays on the same 1566. Well, with this 2000 that I built for me, if I adjust it to 5.0 here and here when I'm receiving, and then I key and I align this to 5.0, when I key and unkey, it'll stay on 5.0. But now I want to stay on frequency, but the guy I'm talking to is a little bit off. So now I can take and dial my receive only, a few digits, several digits back on the counter here, and say he's really out of whack and he doesn't understand me now. Well, I can go over here, and if I want to, I can dial this radio To the right, a half a channel, and to the left, a half a channel in the other direction, and this counter will keep step, and the radio will transmit and receive total split frequency on those channels. The transmit and receive clarifier never see each other. I've literally moved the alignment controls to the front of the panel, so you're really using it more like a ham radio. And then this one has the stinger board. We don't have the bottom plate here right now, but this one has the stinger board in the bottom. It goes right here. And then in our speakers, you look on the website, you see our speakers that we do. We put an LED in the front, and for this radio, we put one of these power supplies in this speaker, and then that's just on the side of the 2000, like these do. And like this one's going to get done, it's getting that conversion. It's going to have an LED here, and on the back, he'll have an AC cord for this box. He'll plug this box into the wall. He'll have the DC cord that Cobra supplied on these radios with the intention for you to put them in your cars. Well, I guess back then cars were a lot bigger. And when I was young, these radios looked a lot bigger. Now they don't look so big. So anyway, the 30 amp supply goes in here. The DC cord comes over, and we disconnect the DC cord or the DC receptacle on the 2000, and it gets diverted only to the stinger board, which gets mounted on the bottom plate and mounted in the bottom of this radio. This one's turned down when it's running. Normally, I got it about a 2-watt dead key and about 55-60 watts of peak swing. Now, anybody who's got a 2000 and knows what the stats are on a 2000, that's pretty freaking impressive, because everybody loves this radio because of the fact that it's got, when they're done right, it's got superb audio, AM and transmit. So what we've done is, on all these radios like these, what we're doing is we're taking them, and we're putting the stinger board in. Now this becomes your final section at that point, okay? The radio itself is now only going to run half power or less than it's designed to run in normal service. And then this is going to take over, and now this is going to be able to make this radio compete no problem with any one of these big Galaxies. That's a sick thought for a guy that likes to talk on radios all the time. You got a 35, 40, 45-year-old Cobra 2000, and you hear all these guys on Galaxies and this and that, and you're just like, man, I don't want to spend $400, $500, $600, $700 on a radio. Don't. Fine, you come to me or somebody like me and have them do a conversion on your radio that is going to prolong its life. Okay? I'm gonna put this one back up, but this is actually a page to feature this radio, because we're kind of proud of this. Now let me get back to this one real quick for a minute. This radio, the gentleman, I gave it to him. We did our deal. He took it home. This radio was perfect when it left. Now, he had it for a year. In that year, he didn't manage. In that course of the year, a brand new amp was blown up, a mobile amp that was on a power supply. A brand new tube amp was blown up. A filter, a watt meter. All of these components had issues in his system during the duration that this radio has been ran on it for the last year. So let's just put it in plain English. In the last year, this radio has been ran in a hostile environment. Amps blowing up, meters blowing up, filters blowing up. And we finally narrowed it down and attributed to, he had a couple of coax jumpers that were changing impedance on him under load. And that's a whole nother video. I'll talk to you guys about that later. But anyway, we're solving that problem for him. But he brings it to me because we want to check it. It's been a year. And after a year of being on SWRs going from 1 to 3.5 sporadically up and down for a year, blown up amps, blown up filters, he brings it to me, sets it on my bench, and wouldn't you know, this thing is dead on frequency, still banging 100 watts. Echo works perfect. All the functions are still perfect. Just like I gave it to him after a year of being in service on sporadic intermittent coax, blown up amps and everything behind it, and this thing just kept on trucking. If that don't impress you, go find another technician, because you know what, after a year of being beat to death and it's still kicking ass, you want this 2547 if you want one of these radios. I personally don't care for the physical characteristics of this model, but you know what, if you're a blind man and just sitting here concerned about it, what it's capable of out that mic jack and out its ass, that's a pretty nice little radio. So, the very first two conversions we did, mine's getting upgrades now. I have a new amp, so I'm going to show you guys real quick. This is my new toy. What we have here is a Collins, what we have here is a Collins 30-L, or 30L-1, 4811A tubes high drive unit. Pretty nice. Now, here's the thing with these guys, and all you guys do it, I do it too. You got the foot pedal. So these are manual key. Unless you have a Yaesu or a Kenwood or something that's already set up with a keying jack, this radio or this amp, when you key down, you gotta key it with your foot. Well, my last radio I had with this amp, we set up just the way I'm going to do this 2000. So now when I'm done, on the back of this 2000, the PA jack will be I can't get focus. When we're done here, the PA jack will actually be the keying output. It'll be an 1/8 inch over here, and then it's going to come around, and then on the back of this, it will plug in and it will be transferred to a RCA jack. And in here will be a choke circuit to keep the big RF from the amp from bleeding back into the 2000. Actually, in the line for the keying cord, we're going to put 2 chokes to keep the RF back there. So all we're doing up here at the radio is closing the relay manually with our microphone instead of stepping on the foot pedal every time you key your microphone and sitting there having to dance while you're talking. Now the radio, like it's supposed to, will manually key the Collins. So we're going to add another relay in here because we've already got it to receive without a mic. So we're going to add another relay in here, convert this jack, and then when I'm done, the stinger will be on all the time, and it'll be down to a 10 watt. I'm going to set this one about a 5 or a 10 watt dead key. And then what we're going to do is, when I turn this switch to PA, it will automatically remotely engage the keying circuit for my Collins. So every time I grab my little shorty D here, everybody's been liking this microphone. I'll tell you what, this little guy here gets more attention. I can't even tell you, it's ridiculous. But anyway, that D goes on this mic, or on this radio. And, you know, we're going to get it all done and updated for the new amp that we're running. You know, beat the guys up around here a little bit with it. They love it. And just showing you the upgrades to the very first Super Duty model. This one's Mr. 409's. And yes, today I'm not working on your stuff, guys. I'm working on mine. I have to. But yeah, I thought everybody liked to see this one. This one's cool. Cool as hell. It does look a little awkward with the 30 amp power supply on the back. But you know what? Who's looking? You got 30 amps coming off your behind. Powering up 100 watt pet board mounted inside your radio. This radio is freaking awesome. And I'll tell you what, my Collins loves it. It absolutely loves it. So we're going to go ahead. We're actually putting a brand new Stinger board in the 2000. The board that we put in it was our original board, and it's been beat up pretty good through a few conversions and tests. So it's getting a brand new baby. We're going to convert this board. We're going to mount it to the bottom panel. We'll show you that all when it's done. So there it is. The first two. All you guys are getting them, but I got the first two. Anyway, have a great day, guys.